Woodstock, described as the hub of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But did Woodstock symbolize something greater? Something that would potentially shape the new era of free thinking and unorthodox attitude? The year is 1969. The United States is in the midst of a deadly foreign conflict known as the Vietnam War. Protests to the war is rising. President Nixon announces the policy of Vietnamization, where the U.S. would help build up southern Vietnam forces so we could fully withdraw from Vietnam. The process will prove to be slow, and the public tolerance for the war is diminishing quickly.
So anyway, I think that the cultural challenges that we faced from 65 to 69, were my college years, anti-war protests and stuff like that, marching and all that, the Black Panthers and the Progressive Labor Party dudes, they were out in the streets. Some were a lot more violent than others. Some weren't violent, but until you get a whiff of tear gas.
Not only did the public disagree with the Vietnam War, but an increase in social activism after World War II and an increase in the standard of living created a higher population in the middle class. Essentially, this birthed a powerful middle class that advocated social activism and spoke on civil rights movements such as African American rights and the student movement.
So the whole plethora of things, the cornucopia of issues that came out of a basic anti-war issue. It just highlighted other problems, and people started to get into supporting this, supporting that, and it was cool. It was good.
Woodstock was created when four unlikely men came together looking for an investment to raise money for a recording studio, which they would ultimately call Woodstock Ventures. John Roberts and Joel Rosenman were two friends from a high-class family looking to invest Roberts' newfound capital. After putting an ad in the New York Times for interesting business propositions, they met Artie Cornfield and Mike Lang. Lang was a music concert promoter, and Artie Cornfield was a musician himself, alongside being a record producer. Lang and Cornfield were attempting to open their own recording studio, but lacked the funds to do so. Born from a lower-class neighborhood, Cornfield and Lang were quite the opposite of their newly found partners. They lived a very hippie-like lifestyle, one Roberts and Roseman had lacked experience in. It's through this difference, however, success would rise. Roberts and Roseman would supply the funds. Artie Cornfield handled their promotion and advertising. Michael Lang would take on the bulk of the project. A large part of Lang's job was hiring the staff out of the conservative influence of the money guys. Lang brought a valuable piece of knowledge to the project, having successfully created a music festival in the past. Lang's second step on his agenda was to find a suitable mass of land to support the 50,000 projected population. Woodstock was never really an option, considering there was no farmland large enough for the festival. The next location was Wallkill, New York. Wallkill was booked, however, as the festival crept in. The people of Wallkill had a rising concern with the large amount of hippies that would be arriving shortly, so they ultimately canceled. Fortunately, an unsung hero by the name of Max Yuskar would save the entire festival by offering up his massive farm in Bethel, New York to the four gentlemen for the weekend.
the city, got to get away.
So the festival was put in motion. However, the four businessmen would soon realize that no one could have prepared them for what came next. August 13th, 1969, 2 days before the festival would begin, and before the construction crews had even finished building the stages, a crowd of 50,000 early birds show up at the grounds. This was the exact number they had predicted for the entire weekend. The question remained, how many more would show? It was answered by 50,000 more people that showed up over the next day, some without tickets, then another 400,000 over the course of the festival. The business partners soon realized the only way to avoid riots by asking for money and tickets would be to surrender to the mass of people that populated the farm. They announced it was a free concert, and from that moment on, the audience with the festival directors was just one big, happy gathering. That all except John Roberts and Joel Roseman, who had just lost a total of $3.4 million to the venture. That is, while Artie and Michael were having the time of their lives. After this moment, the people at Woodstock were in the hands of Michael Lang, Artie Cornfield, and the hippies known as the Hog Farm.
And what the Hog Farm did is they were hippies who, ate organically and everything like that, and were naked a lot, and a lot of little babies running around with curly blonde hair, and it's kind of cool. But they went to every big concert there was around, and what they did is they provided food, and they provided medical assistance, especially for people who were going on bad trips on the psychotropic drugs, because they were all very schooled in this stuff, of course, so they knew what to do and how to do it and stuff like that. But my point is that beyond the lines where the crowds kind of stopped became a wooded area. It's probably a quarter of a mile long. So we heard that the Hog Farm was set up in this little nice dell or something. So me and a friend just walked through there and came out, and there they all were.
Woodstock jumped straight in with performances by Richie Havens, Sweetwater, and one young Arlo Guthrie.
New York State Thruway is closed, man. Yeah, it's far out, man. Every show that I go to now, somebody says, New York State Thruway is closed. And I go, why couldn't I have said something smarter than that?
He gets out on stage, he goes, "Hey, man." They all talk the same for some reason. "Yeah, they just closed down a New York Thruway, man. We're now the third largest city in New York." I said, "How about that? It's pretty far out, huh?"
Other performances included Creedence Clearwater Revival, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Santana, and The Who.
Easy, you know the way it's supposed to be. Silver on the shoreline.
Not to mention Jimi Hendrix with his massive controversial performance of the Star-Spangled Banner on the third morning.
Distorts it in to the degree of where he's kind of making fun of it in a way. Like he's not playing it in a respectful way. It's like he's psychedelicized, and what he's saying is this country's kind of messed up.
The music, fantastic. The weather, not so much. Downpour almost the entire weekend. Not only that, but people left and right were ingesting a certain batch of brown acid that was making people very ill. Now this is a time of constant protest over the Vietnam War. People are sick, it's downpouring. So why was everyone so happy? Why is it that the only moment of violence recorded was when the lead singer of The Who, Pete Townshend, batted a girl off for running on stage screaming, "Free John Sinclair"? It's because there was no authority. No threats. Everyone shared the same anti-authoritarian views and just wanted to get away. The protests, the threat of being beaten by a cop in the streets, the ability to escape it for 3 days of what truly was peace, love, and music. That's what was appealing about Woodstock. That's why people went. It represented more than psychedelic drugs and sex. It was all about the music and getting away from the establishment. In an era of violence, peace was a rare and sought-after thing, and Woodstock was the perfect example of counterculture that demonstrated the absolute, most genuine form of a human being. The fact that 500,000 people, conditioned to violence, could be together in an unpleasant place and be nothing but extremely happy. That's the beauty and significance of Woodstock.
Those things happen once, whatever it might be. The original is always the best. You know, you can't imitate something that happened that was great. Well, they tried to in California at Altamont within the next year. And Altamont was a total failure. Because the Rolling Stones were the head. Rolling Stones weren't hippies, okay? They were like street fighting guys. And then they hired the Hell Angels for security. You ever seen the movie Altamont? Anybody? Hell's Angels on the stage with pool cues, ready to whack people, and they're all like wasted. Yeah. I mean, it was a joke, you know. And then finally, they killed a black guy right down in the center off the stage. You see the pool stick come up and pow, right in the head, kill him. So, see, what they did is they tried to replicate or duplicate Woodstock at Altamont. And it was a total... It was a failure.
Looking out my back door, this giant doing cartwheels, statue